Good morning, grade 4. Mr. Mo here. Welcome to Theme. Today is March 25th, and we are continuing our lessons on mountains, more specifically, features of mountains today. So let's tuck in and get ready for it, shall we? Right, before we get into it, let's review some of the things that we talked about in last class, which was a week ago. We were talking about contour lines and topography maps to be able to look at a map and to see how tall and how spaced apart our mountains are. So today we're going to be talking about different features when looking at mountains. So our aims for this class is to be able to describe the key features of a mountain range. So today's success criteria has everything to do with terminology and vocabulary. You should be able to tell me that not all mountains look the same. You should be able to tell me the difference between valleys and summits, foots and slopes. You should be able to identify an outcrop, a ridge, the tree line and snow line. You should also be able to identify what a plateau is, and you should be able to draw a mountain range and include these key features in identifying what your mountain looks like. So, before we begin, I want you to get a pen, I want you to get a piece of paper, and I want you to draw me a mountain. Just one mountain. In your imagination, you know what a mountain looks like. I want you to get a piece of paper, get that marker, and I just want you to draw a mountain. One. Pause the video and give it a try. Right, so what does your mountain look like? I bet everybody's mountain looks a little different. Most of you probably drew your mountain like this. Nice, tall pyramid, spiky tip, nice and tall, the whole paper, right? I bet a lot of you did it. Or maybe you drew kind of a tall hill with a round top, still nice and big, just like a mountain should look. And I also know some of my students will draw something silly that looks like a crazy mountain, but really there is no right answer to what a mountain looks like. So what did your mountain look like? Obviously, mountains all have different shapes. So did your mountain look like any of these mountains in the PPT? How was your drawing similar? How was your drawing different? Were all the mountains the same? Were some single slopes and some have multiple slopes? Were they smooth or jagged, rocky edges? All mountains can look different. All mountains can have the same features. Now, in the folder, Mr. Mo has put a movie in there about some features about mountains and topography and maps. I will admit, it is not the most exciting video, but it does use a lot of the terminology that we're going to discuss today in the video. So while we go over the key features of a mountain, I want you to keep looking at the picture that you drew to see if you put some of these features into your drawings. One of the most notable features is the snow line. Because the mountain is so tall, snow and ice accumulate on the top all year round. Next is the summit, the dream of every mountain climber, to get to the top of the mountain and to say that you've climbed the mountain. Summits are important. An outcrop is usually a feature that you can see on the side of the mountain, something that shows the uniqueness of this mountain. The area between two mountains is the valley, and this is where we spend most of our times looking at the mountains. We have our water runoff and our animal collections down in the valley. Next is the slope. We see how difficult mountains are to climb based on their slopes. It's the area of ground increasing in height. The taller, the harder it is to climb. Plateaus are unique because they're an area of flat land on the mountain, so it doesn't feel like you're on a slope, a great place to take a rest when climbing. Tree lines are important because it tells us how far life can grow on the mountain. Without the trees, they don't have the CO2 to continue growing. Ridges are a long, narrow, high section above the land. This is something that you can step on and overlook what you've climbed on top of the mountain. The foot is the beginning of every mountain climber's journey. That's the first part of the mountain. The very bottom is the foot of the mountain. And finally, there is the face of the mountain. That is the side of the mountain that everybody gets to see without climbing the mountain. So, why don't we pause the video one last time and see if you can draw another picture of a mountain using some of the features that we learned today. Right, On to our homework. This week, I would like everybody to do 2-star or 3-star. 3-star is a little bit more challenging because you need to think of the words that go into the sentence. 2-star is a little bit easier because there's more terminology when drawing your mountains. These are different features on the mountains, and you are going to be drawing these features and putting them and labeling on your mountain. Nice, clear, neat work, please. All right, so let's review today's class today. Our aim for today was to describe key features of a mountain range or mountains. You guys should be experts in the terminology when looking at different mountains. Now you should be able to look at all the different types of mountains and tell people that they do not look the same. You should be able to identify valleys and summits, foots and slopes of the mountains. You should be able to identify outcrops, ridges, tree lines, snow lines, and define that plateau. And finally, you should be an expert at drawing mountains using those features. Good class today, guys. Mr. Mo will be back on Thursday, so have a wonderful day and take it easy.